gonna talk about comprehensive guide to microeconomics principles and market dynamics. So let's begin. Market basics and the supply demand model. A market is a fundamental concept where supply and demand interact to determine the price and quantity of goods and services. The demand curve illustrates consumers' willingness to pay for different quantities, reflecting their preferences and budget constraints. It is typically downward sloping, indicating that as price decreases, consumers are willing to buy more. Conversely, the supply demand shows producers' willingness to supply at various prices, usually upward sloping, meaning higher prices incentivize more production. Market equilibrium occurs at the point where quantity demand equals to quantity supplied, establishing the market price and equilibrium quantity. Changes in demand or supply shift these curves, leading to new equilibrium points. For example, an increase in demand shift right rises both price and quantity, while an increases in supply, which is shift right, tends to lower price but increase quantities. The law of supply and demand govern market behavior. Law of demand is as price rises, quantity demanded falls, and as price falls, quantity demand rises. The law of supply is as price rises, quantity supply increases. Market interactions help allocate resources efficiently, but market failure can occur when externalities or information asymmetries distort outcomes. The consumer preferences and utility maximization. Consumers have preferences that can be represented using indifferent curves, which depict combinations of goods providing equal satisfaction. These curves are downward sloping, reflecting that more of one good can compensate for loss of another, and non-crossing to maintain consistent preferences. The key the key properties include completeness, which is consumers can rank all possible bundles. Transitivity. If a bundle A is preferred to B and B to C, then A is preferred to C. And non-satiation. More of a good is always better or at least as good as less, implying indifferent curves sloping downward. Utility maximization involves choosing the best affordable bundle on the highest indifferent curve, constrained by the budget line, which represents a combination affordable given income and prices. The optimal choice occurs where the marginal rate of substitution, which is MRS, the rate at which consumers are willing to substitute one good for another, equals to the price ratio of the goods. Marginal utility measures the additional satisfaction from consuming one more unit of a good, and MRS is the ratio of marginal utility of two goods, guiding consumers in their choices to maximize overall utility. The production function and the cost minimization. A production function describes how inputs like labor and capital combine to produce output. In the short run, some inputs are fixed, for example, capital, while others are variable, for example, labor. The long run allows all inputs to vary, enabling firms to adjust their scale of production. The isoquants are curves representing all input combination that produce the same output level, similar to indifferent curve but for production. The marginal rate of technical substitution, which is MRTS, indicates how much of one input can be substituted for another while keeping output constant. Funds and to minimize costs by choosing inputs combinations where the MRTS equals to the input price ratio. The cost minimization involves isocost line, which is representing all input combinations with the same total cost. The optimal input bundle occurs where the isoquant is tangent to the isocost, satisfying MRTS equals to price ratio. The short-run costs include fixed cost of fixed inputs like capital, and variable costs like labor. The long-run cost structure involves all inputs being variable, allowing funds to optimize scale and achieve cost efficiently. The perfect competition and profit maximization. In a perfect competition market, numerous funds sell identical products and buyer and sellers have complete information. Funds are price takers, meaning they cannot influence the market price. Profit profit maximization occurs where marginal revenue equals to marginal cost. Since price equals to marginal revenue in perfect competition, so the funds produce where price equals to marginal cost. If the price is greater than average variable cost, funds produce in the short run. Otherwise, they shut down. It's a shutdown point. The fund supply curve corresponds to its MC curve above average variable cost. In the short run, funds may earn positive, zero, or negative profits depending on market conditions. In the long run, free entry and exit drive profits to zero, leading a normal profit where P equals to minimum average total cost. Market equilibrium and the long run entry and exits. The long-run equilibrium is perfect. Imperfect competition is characterized by zero economic profits because free entry and exits of funds adjust supply until profits are normalized. If fund earns positive economic profits, new funds enter, increasing supply, lowering price until profits are eliminated. Conversely, losses cause funds to exit, decreasing supply and rise prices until profits recover to zero. Barrier to entry, such as patents, natural monopolies, regulations are prevent this adjustment, allowing funds to earn sustained profits. Fund heterogeneity and input cost changes can also influence the long-run supply market and the sustainability of profits. The monopoly and market power. A monopoly exists when a single fund dominates the market, facing a downward sloping demand curve, and unlike perfect competition, a monopolist sets a price to maximize profit, choosing output where marginal cost equals to marginal revenue. But since marginal revenue is below demand, the monopolist charges a higher price and produces loss than in competitive markets. Market power enables monopolies to mark up prices above marginal cost, leading to higher prices and lower quantities, which results in allocative inefficiency and deadweight loss, a loss of total social welfare. Price, di- price discrimination involves charging different prices to different consumers based on their willingness to pay. which can increase producer surplus but may raise equity concerns. Sources of monopolies include natural natural monopolists due to the large fixed costs and economy of scale. Legal barriers like patents, licenses, and government grants. Strategic barriers, control of essential resources or network effects. Government regulation or antitrust laws aim to reduce market power and promote competition. The externalities and the market value. Externalities occur when an individual's action affect others without appropriate compensation, causing market value. Negative externalities like pollution, overfishing lead to overproduction because social costs exceed private costs. Positive externalities such as education, vaccination lead to underproduction because social benefits exceed private benefits. The social marginal cost, which is FMC, and the social marginal benefit incorporate external effects guiding efficient outcomes. Overproduction occurs when private marginal cost is less than social marginal cost. Underproduction occurs when private marginal cost is less than social marginal cost benefits. The government interventions includes Piggovian taxes to internalize negative externalities, subsidies for positive externalities, regulation to cap and trade system, information asymmetry and market failures. Information asymmetry arises when one party has more or better information than another, leading to market failures such as adverse selection, where buyers or sellers withhold or distort the information, leading to inefficient trades. For example, used car markets the most problem. Moral hazard when one party takes risks because I- they are insulated from consequences. For example, insurance leading to less cautious behavior. Market failures due to asymmetry can be mitigated through regulation, like mandatory disclosures, signaling and the screen, certifications, warranties, government intervention, mandates, subsidies, or direct provision of goods and services. Trade and comparative advantage. International trade allows countries to specialize based on comparative advantage, which exists when a country has a lower opportunity cost in producing a goods relative to others. Absolute advantage refers to producing more with the same resources, but comparative advantage drives trade benefits. Countries benefit by specializing and trading, leading to welfare gains and economies of scope. Trade creates gains for both trading partners, although some domestic industry may suffer. The terms of trade depends on relative opportunity costs and the world prices. Trade policies like tariffs or quotas can distort these gains, leading to delivery loss and inefficiency. Labor market and wage determination. The demand for labor is derived by marginal revenue product the additional revenue generated by employing an extra unit of labor, calculated as price times marginal product of labor. The supply of labor depends on individuals' trade-offs between leisure and work. The equilibrium wage balances labor supply and demand. Factors influencing wages include minimum wage laws, can raise wages but may cause unemployment if set above equilibrium. Market power, monopoly. Funds with market power can suppress wages below competitive levels. Elasticity of demand and supply affects how wages respond to shifts. Labor markets labor markets policies under taxation influence influence employment and income distribution. Behavioral economics and time inconsistency. Behavioral economics incorporates psychological insights into economic models, recognizing that individual often deviate from rationality due to biases and heuristics. Key concepts include time inconsistency, that is, preferences change over time, leading to procrastination or commitment problems such as quitting smoking or dieting. Loss aversion. Losses hurts more than equivalent gains feel good, influencing risk behavior. Endowment effects. People value possessions more once they own them. Framing works how choices are presented affects decisions. Default options or nudges can influence behavior without restricting choice, such as automatic enrollment in retirement plans. Risk aversion and expected utility theory. Most individuals are risk averse, preferred a certain outcome over a one risky one with the same expected value. This behavior is modeled by concave utility function, which implies a diminishing marginal utility of income. The expected utility framework calculates the utility of uncertain prospects, EU, equals to sum of probabilities times utility of outcomes. The risk premium is the amount an individual is willing to pay to avoid risk. Insurance is a practical application, allows individuals to transfer risks and smooth consumption. Preferences influence investment savings and consumption decisions. This comprehensive overview synthesizes core microeconomic principles like market structure, externalities, and behavioral insights, providing a solid foundation for understanding how markets function, where they fail, and how individuals and funds make decisions within economic systems. Thank you for listening.